that I have found lately, obviously through social media.
Yes.
So that's been a good thing.
Yeah, it
And there's a
has.
lot of the people that uh, we know. Pam Murray, do you remember Pam Murray?
I
No,
remember the name.
she
You
was in
guys,
your.
hold on one little tiny second. You guys, welcome to Comic Spot. I found out yesterday that Paul Arca, who has been dying as a veteran to get to interview him, I found out yesterday he went to my high school. And we know people together. So you get to watch me interview him slash catch up with life, talk about the military. We have that in common. And you get to hear about his illustrious career in voiceover and radio. And he's been in, he where were you born and raised? Let's go back to that, Paul.
San Francisco. I
Okay.
was born and raised there, and we moved up to Portland and went to school up there for a while, then moved back to California, then moved back to Portland, and kind of bounced around, from here to there. As we spoke earlier, I went to 5 high schools.
Man alive.
So, not through my choosing.
Yeah.
Uh, it was difficult times back in those days. But I can tell you that, when you go through difficult times, we look at them and we're like, oh, please don't stop this. But the good news is there's a purpose in all of that. And some suffering is not bad. Okay. Because it did a world of good for me because I was a lost kid. I dropped out of high school my senior year to go to war. I was 18 years old and thought I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I turned out to be a total idiot. Okay. Uh, made
Thank you
some,
so much for serving in Vietnam. Really serving. I was over yodeling in the Alps while you were fighting the enemy,
I
so we
could
could.
hear you. That was you? I
That
could
was
hear you.
me.
When the moon was full, I said, where's Linda? Oh, there it is. That's great.
Oh my
So I
God.
went from being a radio guy in a rifle platoon. The radio weighs 22 and a half pounds. And you carry that along with your other stuff. So you're doing about what we call a buck 25 on your back. It's 125 pounds. But when you're 18, 19 years old, it's like, I can do this. So my platoon leader asked me, he said, Paul, what do you want to do when you get back to the world? In other words, what do you want to do when you get back home? I said, sir, I want to be on the radio someday. That's my dream. He goes, well, right now the radio's on you, on your back, all 22 and a half pounds. So it was just a dream for me. When I was 12 years old, I knew I wanted to do that. But I thought I had a better chance of becoming an astronaut than being on radio. Okay. It I didn't have low self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. The Vietnam thing, I was screwed up before I got there, so I don't blame everything on that. But that just enhanced all my issues. You know, a lot of this, and a lot of this, and all that stuff that we did back in the late '60s, early '70s. And eventually, I got out, and I was a drill sergeant prior to exiting the Army. I did that for about a year and a half. And I was so young. I was 20 years old when I was a drill instructor. Most of the recruits I had were older than me. And I had a baby face. I looked like I was 12 years old. So I don't know if anybody really took me serious or not. But I did get out and I mowed lawns and then I did stuff. And somebody said, yeah, you can go to school as GI Bill. I'm like, what? So Portland State, you know where that is. They had a radio program in there. So I went to school there. I was 2 years. And in the middle of all that, I worked in a place called the Cheerful Tortoise, which is still there.
Yeah, it's
It's
up
on the
on
port.
six.
Yes, it's on 6th Avenue. I live right across the street with a bunch of guys that were going to school there on 6th Avenue. And at lunchtime, I'd take a little stereo with records and I would play music so that the guy that owned it said, look, I'll feed you if you will play music just for lunch. I'm in because man, I had like $0. Okay. Uh, so I'm telling you the whole life story. I hope it gets inspirational for you and
Yeah.
for
Oh,
those
yeah.
watching right now. Okay. Because you're looking at a guy that was below zero. Okay. So I was nothing who became something. All right.
Yes.
And going through that, I mean, I would go days without eating. I would do things like, I mean, just incredible, just goofy things like that. But I said, I'm going to get through this school. And I had no idea if I was going to be really good at it or, like most people that go into those industry, they don't last very long. But I lasted almost 40 years of doing that. As a matter of fact, when I retired, uh, I was on 40 radio stations across the country at the same time through
With
the magic.
iHeart.
Yes, I worked for iHeartMedia and I did a local radio show. And then I was the morning guy on Saturday and Sunday on 40 of their radio stations across the country. And I actually resigned. Most people were kicked to the curb. I was 62 when I quit. And I just signed a 3-year contract. So they let me out of it. I told them why I needed to, go home. And they let me out, but they gave me a year. If I changed my mind, they'd take me back. So a year and a half later, the FedEx truck pulls up and, signed off. So that it went back, but I was grateful for all those years and a fun career on radio. But I've been a voiceover guy for most of my career. And then I really started getting serious my last probably 5 to 10 years prior to me leaving the radio business. Because I used to be a producer, writer. Okay, I wrote a lot of comedy bits for morning shows. Now, I can tell you right now, because you're a comic, and I know that there are other comics watching this, and I can tell you that funny is the hardest thing there is to do. Funny is hard. So I thought, let me go this avenue. Let me try to be creative. And sometimes creative falls into funny. It's just something that I had learned through writing. And not only did I write it, but I produced it and voiced most of it. Okay. So I had a blast doing that. And then I got into agencies, started getting a hold of some of my stuff. And they said, yeah, you have a different sound, Well, so I worked with another voiceover guy, and we really worked hard, try to say it this way, try to do it that way, try to do it this way. And so you got to be able to shift gears with your voice and do stuff like that. And I thought, this is a lot better than sitting and writing and having to produce everything, find the right music for the commercial, find the right this for that. So I don't do that anymore. All I do is give me the microphone, you give me the words, and I'm done, right? You send me the check through FedEx, and everybody's happy, right? So it's worked out well. I took a couple of years off of voiceover work because it's very demanding. I mean, you have to be in front of that computer constantly, and on your phone they're sending you auditions, And finally I just said, I'm just going to chill for a little bit. And I'd hired a voice coach prior to this COVID crap, and that didn't happen because I couldn't get in the studio. We thought, well, maybe we'll do it Zoom. I said, well, I'd rather be in the booth, where you could, it struck me. And a lot of actors in Hollywood always have voice coaches because they can pull things out of you that you're not aware of. It's kind of like, I guess, in your business, it would be other comics, other stand-ups, you say, well, I like that. Well, maybe I can incorporate a little bit of that. And that's pretty much, and then you get tutored. So you constantly are, moving with this. I got to unplug. I'm 71 years old, and I want to chill for just a little bit, and then I'll get back into it. I got a studio in my house here, and it's all plugged in and ready to go. But I'm kind of enjoying my life right now, and it's all good. You know, I mean, I don't have anything to complain about, but it goes back to what I was talking about going through all those things, all those days of being hungry. And so I know what nothing is, and I know what an abundance is, you know, so you kind of, I don't ever want to forget the other part. I don't live there, but I go back so that I don't forget, you know, where I'm at now. And I'm not I don't live for material things, you know, I just don't, because uh, I don't care. And I've had some fantastic automobiles. I'm a car freak. And I've had a lot of awesome muscle cars, you know, the Porsches, the Jags, the this, that. I had a great time on that. And I don't know if that ever leaves your DNA or not. I'm trying to push it aside to say, yeah. So I went out and bought a little mini convertible because I live out in the forest here in Missouri, about an hour and a half out of St. Louis. So the roads are like this, you know. So I just hop in that little thing. And that's what excites me. Now, if I was back in Oregon, I would invest in boats, okay, fishing boats. So I miss the homeland. I'm going back there actually next week to Portland, Oregon City, um, and
Oregon
take care of,
City.
yeah, take care of some business. So I guess, how did you fall into what you're doing?
Okay, so what I did was I had like my parents survived the Holocaust.
Oh my goodness.
So they came here and they were here, but they weren't here. So us three children raised ourselves outside of taverns while our parents were getting drunk. So I got into a lot of trouble because of not being supervised.
Right,
And that wasn't really who I was. It was just who I became because I wasn't supervised. But
right,
that started me thinking terribly about myself. And it took me a long time to figure out I'm not who I was then. And if I, like, I don't blame it on my parents because I had a choice to do the right thing and the wrong thing. But my dad survived the Holocaust by lying, stealing to survive.
sure,
He had to. And he taught his kids how to lie, cheat, and steal because
right,
it became pathological for him. So I had to get rid of the guilt of things that I had been brought up around. And I got married way too young in the military and had a daughter and spoiled the heck out of her. And then I got hit by a drunk driver after the military. I didn't get injured in the military. I came back to America and got hit by a drunk driver. And the VA said, your brain injury isn't that bad. It's just a little bit of mild dementia due to brain trauma. You're going to have to heal yourself. Okay, let me get this straight. The person with the brain injury has to, all right, well, whatever. So I healed myself. But in the meantime, my daughter had given up on trying to be around me. So we went our separate ways. She couldn't hang with the new mother because you have a different personality if you have a pretty good brain injury. And it
right,
just took long for her. So when we went our separate ways, I didn't want to live, Paul. So I contacted a comedy club in SoCal where I was living at the time, and I said, how would you like to help me live? And I mean today. So, because that was the day my daughter and I went our separate ways, and I called the comedy club. They got me in that day to train me. And it hasn't been easy doing comedy with a broken heart about my daughter.
right.
But when I'm out writing jokes, making people laugh, creating good karma, maybe someday my daughter will find it in her heart to forgive the fact that I'm different since before the brain injury. So we'll see.
Hmm.
That's how I started. And I've met some good people that have helped me along the way.
You know, our stories are so similar. I had no supervision. I'd lived on my own since I was 15. And all those high schools and all those things were foster homes, were this, were that, were that. And I really didn't want to cause trouble. It wasn't my DNA. I just ran with bad people. You know, there is a scripture in the Bible that says uh, about corrupting bad company destroys good character. Okay, and it does. And you know, I got to tell you, my life mirrors yours like you wouldn't believe. I mean, there's a lot of forgiveness where we keep going back and going. You know, I want a relationship, and I screwed that up. I messed this up. But one of the things I heard somebody say this, and it said, you know, God made us with our feet pointing forward. All right. My head is pointed forward. It doesn't look back. We don't walk backwards, right? We walk forward in life. So now and then we turn our head to look back to say, okay, the only time I go to look back is to learn from the things that I did. But I don't control that anymore. It's gone, it's out of my life. I still have hopes, I still have dreams, and I know you do too. And when was the last time you spoke with your daughter?
6.5 years. March 13, 2014.
Okay. Do you know that I really believe in my heart that the wounds uh, are still there? The scars haven't quite healed up yet. You know, it's still there, but it's going to heal. Now, I can tell you that. I tell you that through hope. Never give up, never quit. We keep moving forward, like the Vietnam thing. I was so guilty that I survived. I hated myself. I hated me. I never said a word. I was so quiet. When I was in Vietnam, the first month, if I said 10 words in a month, I might be exaggerating. I just, after looking at those boys in there, in my platoon of about 15 guys, I mean, they looked like, you know, they'd been out there for so many months with no bath, no this, no that. They had that 1,000 yard stare, you know, and they're just, I was the new guy, so they're, you know, not talking to me. So I understood it. I didn't take it personal. So, you know, when I look back at all that, and I only look back to learn, but I carried that guilt for a long time. And then when I got married, had two little babies, I was still messed up, drinking, drugging, doing this, doing that. And it wasn't until 1982 is when I got that lifted off my back. It comes for visits now and then, okay? And that's never going to go away. But the good news is I know it. And when it comes, I know how to deal with it, okay? Because again, I'm looking forward. If I could change that, I would. And for anybody else watching this right now, whatever situation, you're looking at two people, folks, who literally have been through the grinder, and there's more of those out there that are much worse than we were, and there are, and I know that. But your life can be good. You can have peace in life, and it's, you know, like you, Linda, you give of yourself. When you put yourself last and you put everybody else up front, it's amazing how that changes. Speaking of me, uh, to lighten up the
Get back
conversation.
to me.
Okay, speaking of me, you know, when I was writing, I tried to write songs, you know, and I kept saying, I'm getting ripped off, man. Every time I hear a song I wrote, you know, I hear it on the radio. I go, wait a minute. All they did was change out one word. It's like Frankie Valli did that to me. Uh, you know, my version was, I can't take you're, I'm so good to be true. I can't take my eyes off of me. You know that song. Da 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 da. I love me, baby. If it's quite all right, I'm gonna love me, baby. Now he just substituted me with you. I love you, baby. That totally changed the song. He raked in millions. I got zero. Go figure. What's up with that? So I gave up songwriting. If you believe that, I've got a arch I'll sell you downtown. Real cheap. I'm playing with you now.
Let's talk about some rough times, not in depth, but I wanted to say something. I move forward, but every once in a while I lose my focus, my passion. I'm so brokenhearted about my daughter.
Right.
Sometimes I go back to the little girl before all the drama, all the trauma in my life. The little girl before my feelings got hurt, before people said you can't this, you can't that, you'll never this, you'll never that. I go back and I talk to that little girl and encourage that little girl before all the hurt. Have you ever done anything like that in your life?
Oh yeah, yeah. I look back at that and the little boy, the little girl. It's how we were, pretty innocent. But we are a product of our environment, and we are. There's no question about that. But as you said, see, you took ownership of it. You didn't blame everybody else, and they had a big part in all of that. I know my mom did too. And I've never seen my dad. I couldn't tell you what he looks like or what his name is. And I lived with my mother for maybe about 5, 6 years of my life. But I know now that she did try. She tried, but she just couldn't do it. And there are some people like that. So I'm like, I understand that now. Back then, I hated her guts because I blamed her for everything, that had happened to me. And people used to tell me I was stupid, that I was dumb, that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. Uh, I, my my mother was angry because I wanted to do radio. She says, I can get you a truck driver's job, and not that there's anything wrong with it. I said, that's great, but I don't want to do that. And she says, how many people fail at that? I said, probably, a whole bunch. And that's true, and they are. But I wasn't going to be one of them because I think you've got to have some of that in your DNA. I mean, if you want to be a comic, or you want to be on radio, or you want to be a voiceover person, you have to have something in you for that. It's got to be a part of you, and you take that and you roll forward with it, and you say, okay, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And uh, I denied everything else. I didn't own a car then. As a matter of fact, the first radio station I worked at was in McMinnville, Oregon, and I had no place to live. And I asked the guy that just hired me, I said, hey, can I sleep over by that Coke machine over there? He goes, what? I said, I got no place to live. He goes, well, the station was on a farm. So you can go, there's ranch hand quarters. You can stay in there till you can get on your feet. And, I made about $250 a month. And I worked in McMinnville for a year. And then I went to Salem and worked there for about 6 months. Then I went to Eugene and did about 3.5 years of radio. Radio's kind of like professional sports, like baseball. You start out single A, then if you get good enough, then you move up to double A. And then if you get a little bit better and the pay scale changes, you go to triple A. Well, Eugene was like triple A. And I finally got the call in 1981 from St. Louis, and a radio station, a big station here, hired me to do 7 to midnight. And I took a chance. I told my mother-in-law, I said, look, I'll have your daughter back in 6 months. Well, it's now 2020 and I'm still here. You catch a wave, you stay on it because it's going to end, and it's okay. It's okay. It's because I can look back and go, you used to be over there. Now you're here. But even at 71, I got news for you. There's other plans for me in my life. Okay. I'm not going to sit around in a rocking chair and, go, woe is me, or, you don't know what happened to me. And, so you don't want to know what happened to me or you, Linda, and I admire your parents for going through something like that. I've got a friend of mine here, radio guy, a big morning show host. His dad was an Auschwitz survivor. And I had made mention of that on the air a couple times, and he got all cheered up. And, I said, that's uncomprehendable, to that human beings could do that to another human beings. But as I've been around through life and looking out my window, it's still there. That same evilness is still there. It didn't go away. We just try to gain wisdom, and you've gained a lot of wisdom. And you have, I can tell, I never spoke to you in my life, but I can tell you have wisdom, and the wisdom came through your suffering.
Yeah.
And it did. And it did through me. And my wife grew up the same way. She was very poor. And when we first came here, she made ice cream cones at Dairy Queen because we had two babies, and I'm in a strange land, St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't like it here, but it was a career thing. And I said, we'll go back, and we still may go back. I don't know. I mean, she works from home,
What
and
does she
has
do,
done very
Paul?
well. She is an analyst for a healthcare company, a national company. So she's done well for herself, and she's worked so hard. I mean, from ice cream cone to that, I mean, it's like both of us came from the same side of the fence. Pick berries, you know, beans and stuff like that in the fields in the summer, and for school clothes and all that kind of stuff. And that's what she did. And I have great respect for her. And we've been together for 43 years, and it's
Do you
been a
think
good thing.
it'll
We're
last?
good friends.
Do you think the
I'm
marriage
sorry.
will last?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, it's we're good friends, and we love each other, and we both stand on the same rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We learn through situations in life, because we had a hard time with our children. My daughter was a drug addict for years, and she's been out of that for 5 or 6 years now. So uh, that almost killed us. And again, it's more of that suffering thing. And she's got great wisdom now. Beautiful girl. She got a good job. Uh, it's it's every day. She really doesn't look back. Only just once in a while to take a peek to say, I'm not going back there. The suffering I created, is uncomprehendable. And she's still, to this day, I can see the guilt still there. And I do remind her that we don't live there anymore. No, our slate's been wiped clean. Okay. It is up to the other person. All you can do is say, hey, I love you. I'm asking for your forgiveness. And do some of this, because I'll tell you, this works. Because if it didn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I would not be here. I asked when I first came here, I was looking for a 357 Magnum. And I asked a guy at the front desk if he could get me one. He said yes. I was going to stick it in my mouth. That's where I was in my life. I was tired of hurting people, tired of hurting my wife. I had babies. They were too little. They didn't know what I was up to. But I was just tired of it. It's like, wait a minute. That's the way I was when I was in school or when I was 15. It's all about me. Well, it's not about me. It's about Linda. It's about people watching right now on Facebook. It's about you people. And be encouraged by this. When I first sat and thought about this, I thought, I wonder where we're going to go with this. But in the back of my mind, encouragement and love each other. When we do that, okay, when somebody comes on you, you just like, okay, yeah, it doesn't make you angry, but I take a step back and say, go ahead. I'm sorry you feel that way. God bless you. You take care of yourself. When I do that, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I am. But did that happen overnight? No, did not. I had what they call a overnight trans on the 27th of July, 1982. I was a wreck. I woke up the next day and it was gone. It was gone. Gone. Do I still deal with some of it? The temptation? Yes, it never goes away, but I have the strength to push it away. Say, no, not today. I can't tell you about tomorrow because tomorrow's not promised. Yesterday is gone. Live for today. My wife drugged me into a church, non-denominational. She drugged me in by my arm, pulled me through the front door because I wanted nothing to do with it. And I took a look and I was like, maybe there is something to this. And I started looking at it. And I'll tell you, I've never been the same since. And I don't sit here and tell people I'm not recruiting you for my church. I'm not recruiting for religion. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just saying, if you have never explored the spiritual end of your life, I encourage you to take a look. Because if you've never looked, you'll never really change permanently. And when God comes in, his spirit comes in you, the old spirit, the bad one's gone. The two can't inhabit the same space, and they can't. Darkness cannot inhabit light, and light cannot, they can't inhabit. If you strike a match in a dark room, it's the way it is. And when you take a look at that, okay, again, I'm not pushing, telling anybody to go do anything. You don't have to do. God created us with our own free will to choose and to do what we think is right. Well, I did it the first half of my life. Just, okay, if I'm going to choose, I'm going to choose renegade. I want to be a tough guy. I'm going to go to Vietnam. I'm going to kill a whole bunch of commies. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. Then I come home and I'm even worse. But at the point of the end of my life, when I was 32 then, I said, I'm done. I'm done. And this happened to me. And never been the same since the 27th of July, 1982, never. So encouragement, everybody, take a look at that part of your life.
Don't leave any stone unturned if you're
No.
unhappy. Keep
There you
turning
go.
things.
There you go.
Your spiritual life is one of them stones that you got to try.
Well, again, if you take a look, because I used to criticize it, and I did. I thought, are you kidding me? I don't want anybody, deity, telling me what to do, or gee, I can't smoke anymore. Gee, I can't do this anymore. Here's the thing: you can't fix broken. I can't fix broken. Neither can you. He can fix broken. He's the only one that can really fix broken. And it's like your daughter. What's her first name?
Lisa.
Lisa? All right. I'm going to pray for Lisa. Our family will. And I'm going to tell you, if you do the same, I think you'll be surprised at what you might find. So I want you to just think about that, if you will. We're about, I got to show you something. Okay, everybody, I've got a couple of pictures I want to show you. The first one is from our high school. We went to David Douglas High School.
Yeah, same high school. How many months or years did you go there?
I went 1 year.
Okay.
That's great.
What year? 68, right?
No, I was there in probably 66, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, 66. Here's the yearbook.
Yeah, I remember that one.
All right.
Did you know who Cameron Sinclair was?
Yeah, Cam Sinclair, big football star. He was Mr. Everything.
He's my brother-in-law.
Really? Cam Sinclair was a guy that I said, man, if I could be 1/3 of him, I would be happy. And because he was a great athlete.
Right.
And he was. And I hope he's still doing well.
Yes,
and
I'm doing well.
I was an athlete myself, but because of my situation, I just quit. I played one full season at Centennial High School, and that turned out really, really well. And then, push came to shove, and I was like, I'm not interested in anything anymore except getting out of school. I don't know if you can see this or not, but
yeah, let's see this.
That is me.
Let me see. Can you go up higher?
Oh yeah.
Where are you at?
Right here.
Up higher. Bring the book up. Oh, you're adorable.
Yeah. No, you wait. I have you, and my bookmark fell apart.
1966 was my freshman year, and that was it. Up higher. Can you put it up higher?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh my gosh. That was me with the unibrow.
Awesome. And this,
1966. Go Scots.
yeah, and Cam was Mr. Scott.
He was.
I won the state championship that year.
Yes.
Yeah. And I used to go to the games, I remember. And it was so much fun. But I was thinking, you dummy, you should be out there. And I just didn't care anymore. Just didn't care. And I dropped out of school shortly after. My senior year as a Gresham, I just said, I didn't really have, I was living in a house with a bunch of guys, and, we were all druggies, and we'd get drunk and go to school. We get drunk in the morning and then go to school that same day. And the teacher used to come up, a really good guy. And he said, I got to tell you something, man. You smell like liquor, Paul. You got to stop this. And I'm like, yeah. And then I just said, I'm not going anymore. I'm going to go. So when I was 17, I went and joined the Army. And because my brother had already been to Vietnam. He was there in 66. And, I thought, well, he can do it. I can do it. I'm going to be an airborne infantry soldier. That was my dream. I want to be infantry. I want to go out there and slug it out with those guys. And my first day, I said to myself, the first day they put me on a helicopter and joined that platoon, I said, you've done a lot of dumb things, you idiot. But this by far is the dumbest thing you've ever done. Because it wasn't like the movies, the training. You can't train really somebody to endure that. You can't. You learn as you go. And you learn from those around you who will teach you. Yeah. Because you don't know, it's one step at a time. Because you don't know what's around the next corner. You just don't. And, you walk into ambushes, you do this, you do that. And I just became numb. We all did. I turned 19 and I remember having no problems, taking out bad guys. I mean, I don't want to use the word I enjoyed it, but I hated him so much because they killed my friends. That platoon was my family. They were coming after us. We had 2 guys captured in my company and we went looking for them. That's when I snapped, just totally snapped. We never found them. So, I got that in my system. Then when, you come home and then, I never thought about Vietnam one day. My brother, I'd never seen him cry in his whole life until we were in our upper 50s. And for some reason, we just talked about a situation in Vietnam, a personal situation. I seen tears roll down his eyes. That's the first time I ever seen him cry. It was the first time we ever spoke. And he was in a rifle platoon that we ever talked about Vietnam. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Yeah. And these hats and stuff, the reason why I wear mine all the time is because there was a time when I came home, you put this on, you're toast. When you came back to America, they're throwing rocks at us. And when I came home in December of 69, it's wintertime, well, my skin's black because I've been in the sun, my head's shaved, and everybody has long hair there. They know exactly where you've been, and they'll let you know it.
Yes, it was
Even my own friends dissed me, Yeah. So, but again, that was yesterday.
I do inside my comedy, I talk about being in the military. And I do say that while our men were in Vietnam, I was yodeling in the Alps of Germany, and
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's where you're assigned, right?
and I say it was so hard for the men to come back from Vietnam and get respect. Can you imagine how hard it was for a woman to come back?
Oh, geez.
Yodeling in the Alps.
No, that's even worse.
And I say this because I want people to understand. I don't care what age you were during Vietnam, if you were never born, don't know anything about it. Don't ever let me catch you calling the men that served in Vietnam, I don't ever let me catch you calling them baby killers, because you have made abortions legal.
That's right. I haven't looked at it like that, but you're absolutely right. And this baby killing thing, you know how kind and generous that my platoon, we see kids, we do just little pieces of chocolate in our C ration pack, give it to them. Our medics were always, they had sores all over them. He was always patching them up. And, we had love for those kids, and we did. It's their parents, the ones we didn't like, but them, we killing any babies. I mean, that happened, and I know it did, but it was such a small scale. It should never. But in war, people don't understand. In war, what happens to people? They become what I just described, numb. It's terrible. It's just kind of like you just talked about. We become numb as a society. So killing a baby here is like so what?
Yeah.
All right, it's my life. I'm going to do what I want. But it's sad, and you can do what you want. He created us to do our own free will. It doesn't mean that he's going to agree with it, but it does mean that he gave us your own free will.
Yes.
Lucifer, the most beautiful creature ever created by God.
At one time.
Yes, the most beautiful creature, and he got so full of himself, he decides he's taken over the kingdom. God said, because God created him with his own free will. He didn't create us to be a bunch of robots and, Paul, you better not smoke. Paul, you better not have a drink. Paul, you better not. No, no, no. That's not how it works. When you read it and you study it, that's not what he's telling us.
No.
It's the desire to do the things that are not good for us. The strength comes through him. I always say, I don't like me, Linda. I still don't like me, but I do love the one who lives within me. Okay? That's the one who made me something. That is how I look at it. So I am something now. I'm somebody in him.
Got
I
it.
know me, and I know where I can go. And no thanks. Still don't like me, but I love him because he changed me, gave me a second chance at life.
It
And
sounds
anybody who
like that
asks,
song. It sounds like that old song, "It is well with my soul," is your battle cry.
yes, that's true.
I
That's
love
true.
that song.
Yeah, and my brother just passed. Uh,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
so I'm going to his funeral on Thursday.
What?
So, and he's 2 years older than me, but his Agent Orange. It's a cancer thing. I mean, I have it in my system because I slept in it. And I ate the same dirt he did because we were in the exact same spot in Vietnam. Only I was there 2 years later. And but we both looked at it, and we've talked about that many a time to say every day after that is a bonus day. All right, every day after that is a bonus day. So live as best you can. Did I do that every day? No, I didn't, because I'm not perfect and never will be, but I strive for it. Okay. He did too. So when he was diagnosed 3 months later, he's gone. But, during chemo, he was out on his boat out there in the Columbia River fishing, salmon fishing. We're going to make the most of this day. And the most generous, kind. There's another guy that started out with nothing. He started washing cars for Hertz. When they bring him in, he'd wash them and then drive them up the terminal. And then years when he retired, he was the regional manager for the Hertz Corporation for Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho. So he did very well. But here's a guy that started, and he went through a lot of suffering, just like you and I have. But he took that and he used that for his advantage. So
That's amazing. That's a great story. I need to get out of here. We've gone about an hour. I'd like to give you a few minutes to wrap it up. You get to wrap it up. I'm
okay.
sick of wrapping up things.
And might I add, you're very, very good at it, very talented and a good communicator.
Thank
And
you.
there's a lot of good things in store for you because we're pretty close in age, but age is a number. And I want to encourage everybody who's watching and listening. Doesn't matter what your situation is. It doesn't matter what it is. If you look, you will find. If you knock, the door will be opened. God never promised us, riches and this and that, but He did promise that He would be with us through thick and thin, never leave us, guide us through life by the hand. And I want to encourage you to take a look. Just take a look and never give up. Just when you think it's all over, I don't want it anymore. Look in a different direction that you never looked, and you will find. I promise you that you will find. And God bless you and me. You have peace there, young lady. And you still look like you're 30.
Thank you. You still have a baby face.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Baby face. You
Great song, by the way.
Thank
You see,
you.
we're showing our age here because we know those songs.
Yes.
Didn't Jay-Z do that back in 2000? No, I'm kidding.
Now Babyface is a rapper.
Oh, I know. And I was around rappers in the latter part of my career in radio. As a matter of fact, I worked on black radio for the last 2 years, and not as a jock, but as a creative guy. So I worked with some great Guy Torrey, some of these comics, his brother, a lot of films, movies, Joe Torre in LA. And, I work with those guys, and I actually wrote stuff for them and then produce it for their shows when they go to Japan and all these other places. So again, there isn't anything you cannot do if you really want to. You may not think you can, but you can. So much love to you there, young lady.
Much love right back to you. Give a
I
hug
have
to
a
your
lot
wife.
of respect, a lot of respect for you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had a chance to chat. I really do.
God bless.
Lisa, we're praying for you, sweetheart. Come on. Come on. We love you.
Come home.
Fist bump me. Come on. Fist bump. Oh, there you go.
Thank you for your service.
You too, young lady.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. See ya, kid.
See ya.